Savannah, Georgia. Cobbled streets kissed by oak trees dripping with moss. A city painted in southern charm and elegance. Clara Rose Bennett had lived in Savannah her entire life. She had grown up helping her father run a used bookstore downtown. A place filled with forgotten novels, poetry etched with dust, and corners where imagination bloomed. That little shop had been her kingdom. Quiet, humble, and full of words she could get lost in. Now 29, Clara worked as a part-time librarian at a local community center. She loved her job, but it didn't come with perks like health insurance, let alone $12,000 wedding gowns. Still, she didn't mind. She wasn't a woman of grand things. Except for one dream. 3 years ago, while flipping through a bridal magazine during a late shift, Clara had torn out a photo. A dress unlike any she'd ever seen. Ivory silk with layers of chiffon that caught light like fireflies in twilight. Hand-sewn pearls down the back. A neckline so soft it felt like poetry in fabric. She had tucked that clipping inside her journal. A private hope. A silent prayer. And now, that dress stood before her in a boutique she never imagined stepping into. Maison Blanche Bridal. The most exclusive boutique in Savannah. Clara felt like an imposter. Her simple jeans and cotton blouse looked like rebellion in a world of designer heels and sparkling rings. Her hair was tied back in a no-nonsense bun, and the only thing on her fingers was a modest promise ring. But love had brought her here. Jason had told her that morning. Go try it on. The one you dreamed of. Don't worry about anything else. He had kissed her forehead, handed her his black card, which she refused, and said, I just want to see you in the dress you love. That's all I care about. So here she stood, inside Maison Blanche Bridal, holding her breath, holding her heart. The boutique looked like a palace. Crystal chandeliers hung from a high ceiling, scattering golden light over rows of gowns. Music played, a soft piano melody that should have felt welcoming. But it didn't. Every eye turned toward Clara the moment she stepped inside. The sales staff behind polished counters whispered with narrowed eyes. 2 young women in cocktail dresses glanced at Clara, then at each other, their smirks unspoken daggers. At the far wall stood the dress. Her dress, draped on a velvet mannequin like a dream pulled from her journal pages. She took a step closer. That's when a tall woman approached. High heels, sharp cheekbones, and a clipboard tucked under her arm like a weapon. Excuse me, ma'am, she said, her tone crisp. That gown starts at $12,000. We don't allow trials unless there's intent to purchase. Clara blinked. I understand. I'd like to try it on. The woman eyed her outfit. Do you have an appointment? Or a credit line? No, Clara admitted. But we're a luxury boutique, the woman interrupted. We cater to clientele who understand that. Behind them, one of the women in heels whispered, she probably wandered in from Target. Clara heard it. Her fingers tightened around the strap of her purse. Her heart dropped. But she stood her ground. I didn't come here to be judged, she said softly. I came here to try on a dress I've dreamed about for years. The saleswoman sighed. Then maybe you should dream elsewhere. And with that, she turned away. Clara stood frozen. Her face flushed. Her throat tight. She turned to leave, every step heavier than the last. She was almost at the door when the boutique bell chimed. The air shifted. In stepped a man whose presence silenced the room. Jason Maddox. Tall. Clean-cut. A tailored navy coat and eyes that held both power and softness. He didn't walk, he moved with quiet command. The saleswoman paled. Jason spotted Clara instantly. Clara, he said, stepping toward her. Clara's breath caught. He reached her and pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead. I came to see you sparkle, he said. Clara tried to smile. I was just about to leave. They said I didn't belong. Jason's eyes darkened. He turned to the staff. Who said that? A hush fell. The manager rushed out from the back. Mr. Maddox, we didn't know. Jason raised a hand. Stop. He looked around. You judged her, not knowing she was the reason I built everything I own. Silence stretched. She wanted to try on a dress, and you tried to make her feel small. He turned to Clara. Do you still want it? She nodded. He looked at the manager. I'll take them all. Shock rippled across the room. All of them? The manager asked. Yes, Jason said. Donate every gown to brides who were told they weren't good enough. He took Clara's hand. Except the one she picks. That one's coming home with us. 15 minutes later, Clara stood in the dressing room. The gown shimmered around her like starlight on water. The saleswoman, now pale and silent, zipped the back slowly. You look beautiful, she whispered. Clara turned to the mirror. She barely recognized herself. Not because of the dress, but because of the dignity it gave her back. For a moment, she saw a bride. But then she saw more. She saw a woman who had been dismissed, laughed at, and still stood tall. A woman who didn't need Jason's money, only his respect. A woman who loved without needing to prove she was enough. Jason entered the room, and his breath caught. Now that's magic, he said softly. Clara turned, eyes glassy. You did all that just for me? No, Jason said. For every woman who was told she didn't belong. He took her hands. You didn't need the dress to be beautiful. But I wanted the world to see what I already knew. Clara kissed him. And for the first time, she didn't feel out of place. She felt chosen. The next week, local news ran the headline. Tech billionaire buys out bridal boutique. Donates gowns to underserved brides. The internet exploded. Comments poured in. Some people praised Jason. Others praised Clara. But she stayed silent. She didn't care about the attention. Instead, she volunteered at a local shelter, helping women try on the donated gowns. Watching others find their magic. Each time a woman twirled in front of a mirror and smiled through tears, Clara felt the dream growing, beyond fabric, beyond sparkle, into something real. Clara and Jason's wedding was held in the garden of her childhood bookstore. Rows of chairs faced an arch wrapped in roses and books. No diamonds, no glitz. Just people they loved. Clara wore her dream dress. But it was never about the dress. It was about walking down the aisle knowing she was valued. Not for what she wore, but for who she was. Her father cried when he gave her away. Jason cried when she said I do. And the world, for once, clapped not for the wealth, but for the quiet dignity that had changed so many lives. Months later, Maison Blanche Bridal reopened under new management. Jason never spoke of the former staff again. Clara didn't need revenge. Instead, she started a nonprofit called Worthy Brides. It helped low-income women find wedding gowns, beauty services, and confidence for their big day. And in her office, framed on the wall, was the torn magazine clipping of that dress. Right beside a photo of a dozen brides smiling in donated gowns. The dream didn't end with her. It began with her. They told Clara she couldn't afford a dream. But her love made it come true, and gave it to others too.